I have been giving this idea of leadership a lot of thought lately for various reasons. One of which is the fact that I recently started a new position, and I am painfully aware of the fact that a lot of people are looking at me for answers because they were not there before and they had been without leadership at this particular place for some time. So, I'm very self-conscious of what's going on and constantly thinking of what I need to do in order to keep things moving where I am. And I find it really exhausting because you constantly have to maintain sort of this image and trying to do your best as you go along. So when I realized that today's message was about the story between Elijah and Elisha, I thought to myself, this is kind of, the way that the Spirit always moves in very strange ways. And so it just sort of came a little bit of full circle for me. In today's reading, we learn how Elisha follows Elijah around. Right? He never leaves his side because this is his teacher and he wants to learn everything that he can from this person. They have a very special relationship, and Elijah knows how powerful Elisha is, and that he has a very, very strong relationship with God. And that connection with God allows Elijah to perform miracles and to lead the people. They look up to him. He has, as we read the story, we hear that he has all these prophets that are kind of following him around as well, that he's in charge of, that he has authority over. But Elisha is the only one that stays next to him, very, very close. And he uses his cloak, his garment, and it depends on which version of the Bible you read, right, to part the River Jordan. And this is kind of like the symbol of how powerful he is and that he speaks directly for God. That's the way that Moses parted the Red Sea with his staff. So this is the symbol of their relationship, as far as I can see. Through all of their travels, Elijah is trying to send Elisha away, right? He says 3 times, stay here. And 3 times Elijah says, as God, the Lord lives, and your soul lives, I will not leave your side. And they move to another town, and again, Elijah says, stay here. And the answer is the same. As the Lord lives and you live, I will not leave your side. There's a reason for that. Elijah needed something from his teacher that he would not receive if he left his side. He knew he would not be passed on as the next leader. He would not have that authority over the other prophets. So he wanted to stay next to him. He also knew that becoming the successor also meant having a lot of struggles and difficulties. I mean, if you read the rest of the story, you know that Elijah had been living in the caves because he had taken some action. He had destroyed some men, right, from the king. And so he had to hide because he was afraid of the repercussions. So he knew that becoming the successor also meant that there would be some very serious struggles in his life. And he would have to deal with that. But at this point in our story, we come in, we know, and both men are very much aware that Elijah's time on earth was coming to a close, that the Lord was going to take him. And the other prophets come to Elijah and say, the Lord is taking your master. And every time that Elijah tried to send Elisha away, the other prophets came back and said, do you know that the Lord is taking your master? And he knew. He was very much aware of that. And he kept saying, I know, be quiet, go away. What do you want me to do? Or more like, I think, he's thinking, I'm doing what I need to do, which is I'm here. I will be here when this takes place. So one of the things that, I was thinking about this, this line of succession thing, who is going to take up the work, right? And I think about my professional organization where we have chairs, right? And we have a chair-elect and a chair and a past chair. So you serve for like all these years, and it takes a while before you become a reclining chair. And we do this because we need somebody to learn, to carry on the work. We need somebody to have the history of the organization, to remember how things were done, or what needs to be done in order for the organization to keep growing. But every chair is very different. I mean, I was chair at one point. I don't know why they did that, but my style of leadership was very different than the person before me. They were very, well, whatever will be, will be. And I was very well, we need to have certain things in place so that things don't get confused and people don't come back and complain. And the person after me was very much about, just feed everybody all the time. Just, we all had different styles of dealing with the organization, but there was continuity of leadership at all times. And this is something that we're seeing here, that somebody needs to take up the work that Elijah was doing. So at some point, Elijah says to his teacher, I want you to give me a double share of your spirit. That's what he says, because Elijah says, I'm done, I'm leaving. The Lord is taking me. What do you want from me? What can I do for you? And he says, I want a double share of your spirit. I had no idea what that meant. So of course I'm looking it up. What does that mean? And it turns out that it's an inheritance term, right? So the favored son gets double of everything, of the inheritance, and that is what's passed on to him. And I know that Elijah asked for this, or I think, because he knew that without that double share of the Spirit, whatever that meant, he would not be able to do his job in the way that he needed to do it. So Elijah's response to this request is, this is a very difficult thing that you ask of me. And I'm thinking, okay, so why is this so difficult? How do you give somebody a double share of your spirit? How do you pass that on to them? And then I realized that it wasn't a difficult thing because what he was asking for was something intangible. That's not what made it difficult. What made it difficult was that by granting this request, Elijah was giving up his leadership. He was saying somebody else needs to carry the work. And I thought about the times where I've been in sort of some type of leadership role, or I was the boss, And this idea of giving that up and passing it on to somebody else, you mean I don't get to make all the decisions anymore? You mean I am not the expert anymore? I get to let somebody else do the work and finish what I started? That is the whole thing you're asking me to do. How do I give that up? We hear of people who stay in jobs forever, right? People get hired, but they kind of like stay on the sideline as consultants, just in case you need anything. Just in case, somebody forgets something. I'm here. I'm here to tell you what to do. So, relinquishing authority is not something that comes easy to a lot of people. I know it doesn't come easy to me. But it's something that at some point or another we all have to do. And we knew, Elijah knew he was going to be taken. I mean, come on, you're done, right? The Lord is taking you. Isn't this what you've been working for? To be next to God, to be next to the Lord. But here you are saying what a difficult thing this is going to be, to not be the person anymore. So how do we give up our legacy and pass that on to others? How do we say to ourselves, I did my best, and now someone else needs to do their best? And mentor that person to the point where they can go ahead and do what they need to do. My son Winston plays soccer, and that's why he's not here today, because otherwise I would make him come and listen to me. So he plays defender or whatever, and yesterday he got to play in a game, and he was playing midfield, if you understand that. I barely do. And he came home and he was pretty upset about the game, and I was like, okay, so if you deal with teenagers, right, I walk in and it's sort of like, okay, so what did I do? So later on, after he comes down, whatever happens, I get to find out that the reason why he's so upset is because some of the players on his team would not pass the ball, right? So if you understand anything about soccer, which for me is like this much, the idea is that players kick the ball, you pass the ball until somebody gets the ball in the goal, right? So you gotta keep it moving, you gotta pass it to each other, you gotta strategize how you're going to find that hole against the other team so that you can score. But some of these kids really hate passing the ball. I mean, there is no way they're passing the ball because they're thinking, I am going to be the one to score. I'm going to take it all the way to the end. And invariably what happens is what? They're overcome by the other team, 5 other guys get on them, and nobody scores. No one scores. No one in the team. And the parents are on the sidelines going, pass the ball! How hard is it? You kick it to the other guy. Pass the ball. But nobody wants to pass the ball because we want to be the ones to score. We want that limelight on us. We want the cheers for us, right? And it is painful to watch. So he gets all riled up. If they had passed the ball, maybe we had a chance. And this is what's going on here. Somebody needs to pass this ball, right? So that the next generation can take things on. And this thing, either I have a very strangely shaped ear, or I don't know what is going on. As Elijah was raised up to heavens in a whirlwind, which is what we read in the scripture, Elijah picks up his cloak that falls off of him, right? This is the symbol of Elijah's connection to God and his ability to lead. So he's taken up to heaven, and his student picks this up, knowing very well what this means. This means you are now the leader. Before Elijah was taken up, he said, if you get to see me be taken up, then you can have this double share of my spirit. But if you don't see me, then you don't get it. So that means what? Stay alert, stick around, pay attention, learn, right? Don't miss the cues. Listen to the coach. Because if you miss that, then you're not going to get what you want. You don't get that reward that you so much want from me. And Elisha doesn't miss a cue, and he picks up that cloak. And the other prophets watch this, and they say, he's the one, right? Because then Elijah takes the cloak, he goes to the river, he strikes the water, and the waters part, just like Elijah did. So he must be the chosen one. He's got this strong relationship with God. But there's one thing that the prophets don't know. Right? They don't know what kind of leader this guy is going to be. Right? We've been under the leadership of one person for however many years. He's guided us through the good, the bad. So who is this guy now? What is he going to be doing for the rest of us? There's a lot of talk right now. We see this generational rift in our everyday lives, right, in politics and everywhere else. We have, the one hand, the old generation that says, these new leaders, these so-called leaders, they are too idealistic. They don't know the challenges. They don't understand anything. What are they talking about? And then there's the new generation going, come on, give it up. You're disconnected. You're old. You don't know what you're doing anymore because you can't even listen to the rest of us. And nobody's kind of like meeting in the middle and saying, learn and pass it on. Take your knowledge and share it with somebody else. Faith communities are going through this kind of struggle as well. Somebody here, one of my friends, shared kind of this thing about, we've given up the hymnals and, we rely on technology to do what we need to do. So what's that all about? I have my computer in front of me, so, this is because I couldn't print. So I'm stuck with the technology. Are we too progressive? Are we too far behind? What do we do? In which direction do we move? Because we can't find that middle ground. So the one thing that I love about my job, I started talking about this earlier, is that I get to teach others the ropes. And when I first started this job, I told my team, I said, my hope for you is that one day you will have your own team. You're going to leave this office, you're going to go do your own thing, you're going to become your own director someplace else. And they're looking at me like, what is she? She's just trying to get rid of us? Is this what she's doing? And they didn't really quite understand this kind of thinking, that this is truly my hope. And part of it is because I worked under people that, all sorts of people, right? So some of them were very good mentors, and some of them were very threatened by what I could do. So I had promised myself that I wouldn't be the person that was threatened by what someone else could do. And so I get to kind of say, you go and do what you need to do. What this story says to me is that, as Christians, we are being called to do something very special. We are being called to pick up that cloak, pick up that mantle from somebody else who's been doing it for a very long time. That we're being called to speak for those who don't have a voice, to be strong for those who cannot defend themselves, to provide compassion and shelter That's what I think we are meant to do, to love, right? Just to love unconditional. To be that voice of reason when everything else is going crazy. And so we have to pick up that ministry that Jesus put out there and said, do for the world. And love each other. And to nurture everybody. But I also think that what we're being called to do is to nurture the next generation. And to know when we can say, it's okay that some of our members don't necessarily have to find themselves in the pews to have a connection with our church. It's okay that we're not this very traditional place all the time. Because the work will get done, it may get done differently than the way we would do it, but it will get done. We may not always see the same leadership style, but there will be leaders. They will step up if we let them, if we nurture them, if we lend our support to them and say, you can do this, the way my church family does that for me. It's the only way that it's going to get done. We need to pass the ball so that somebody else can pick it up and keep running with it and score for God and score for Jesus. Thank you.